Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this Members Week event. So I'd just like to start by introducing myself. My name is Susan Ayall, and I am the Membership Development Manager here at RSS. And we will begin the presentation, Soft Skills for Statisticians, shortly. Before I introduce our guests, I'd just like to run through some house rules. So could we please make sure that our cameras are off and that our microphones are on mute, just so it doesn't interrupt with the presentation. And there will be a question and answer opportunity. So if you have any questions, could you please type those in the comments box. And yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody is focused on the presentation. So it is my pleasure to introduce Aura Popa, who is going to be presenting Soft Skills for Statisticians. She is an excellent statistician who is from the statistical company. She can tell you a bit more about that. And this presentation is all about soft skills. So we've had a lot about the statistics side of things and data analysts side, but this is focusing on all of those skills that you need in terms of things like networking and interpersonal skills, those kind of things. So please could you join me in welcoming Aura Popa. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to check, you can hear me well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you can see my screen as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Super. Then I can start. So my presentation is entitled Soft Skills for Statistician, and I would like to say that this can relate to any data analyst out there who would like to improve more than his hard or her hard skills, analytical skills. My name is Aura Popa. I'm a chartered statistician in the Royal Statistical Society, and I will be your speaker and host for the next hour or so. So just some admin. This talk will last about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we will use the left part of the hour to answer your questions, and I'll try to do my best. I might not know all the answers. This talk will be structured in 5 main sections. I'll try to cover the topic soft skills at my best ability, but this is a very broad subject that can contain other parts to focus that are not in my presentation, so sorry for that. And due to the limited time for the last section, you will have to vote what you would like me to focus on, and I will talk about this a little bit later. I'll go through different sections that are most like a universe around you, your team, delivering a project, handling situations, and more soft skills that even if they are the last, they are not the least important. Actually, they're very important. So let's start. So a little bit about me. Here is a photo that is much better than what you see right now on Teams. Ever since mid-high school, I knew I loved statistics. Although most people around me couldn't pronounce the word, I said I'm going to be a statistician. So I graduated statistics and economic forecasting as a bachelor degree, and then I undergone through a master in statistics and econometrics until October 2010. I was a graduate statistician since July 2013, and since October 2018, I'm a chartered statistician in the Royal Statistical Society. I specialize in statistics in market research, and for the past 12 years, I work in both public and private sector, with work experience in companies such as Ipsos Mori, YouGov, Catalyst Housing Association, the Walt Disney Company, or Sony Electronics. And right now, I'm also doing consulting at the statistical company. Now, I would like you to imagine that each of us are living in a mini universe. So it is you at the center of it, then it is your team, then it is how you think you're interacting and delivering your projects, how you make it happen, and other extra power that you should harness continuously. So for each of these dimensions, we will talk a little about the different topics. For you, it will be about you, the learner, the researcher, about your curiosity and mentorship. Then in your team, how is your team spirit and how can it be, how you can network. Around projects, it's very important to have in mind, for example, meetings management, technical writing, and presenting insights. For make it happen, we will look at making decisions, solving problems, strategic thinking, and conflict resolution. And then for the last part, extra powers, we will talk about negotiation and empathy, or active listening and communication. So you'll have to vote between these two because I don't think we will have enough time. So I'm just going to put here in the chat these two groups, and you can tell me at the end who voted for how much it was voted for each of these two. Cool. So why soft skills are so important? If I would look back when I finished my my bachelor degree, and you ask me what's important for a statistician, I will very, very much say, oh, it is hard skills, of course. You have to know software, you have to know methodologies and techniques and analytics and everything like that. And if you try to deep dive more into it and ask me, but what about soft skills? I'll say, no, I don't think so. Not very important. But then I started to struggle at work, not with my actual statistical work, but making teams work together on a project and not making them fall asleep at the stage when I was explaining about the beautiful methodologies and techniques that I applied on the data. So because I have a mantra, everything starts with the book, I started reading. At first, I started reading more books about how to present your data, how to make it interesting, an area that I will develop later on. But I realized one fact. I was one time in 2010 in Blackwell Bookshop in Oxford, and I saw a sea of econometrics books to my excitement, but also I see a huge amount of books around soft skills. For example, books with title Soft Skills for Hard Business and Soft Skilled Hard Results, or bringing the soft skills gap together. So as a co-author of a book, I know that if there are so many books on the market about a topic, it's either unsolved, either is very complex, either problems are still there and people try to find solutions and they're reading this book. So I will try to tackle at best my abilities this subject today, but just to let you know, it's quite a subjective subject, so we will have to work together on this, and probably there are other things to map out today. So there are many things to stop at personal level, but I would choose four main things to take with you from this presentation. How to be an EP speedy learner, how to do well your research, how to be curious, and about mentorship. So I believe that no one knows everything, and that is because statistics is gigantic. I remember when I finished the university, a professor gave me this piece of advice that I'm still pondering to this day. She said, statistics is a huge domain. You can work in medicine or market research and use every day. But then there will be other areas that statistics is used. But sorry, I see that I have bad connectivity. Can anybody hear me well?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it's fine. I'll continue.
I can hear you properly. I don't have any problem.
Super. Teams is scaring me. Told me that I have low connectivity. Good. And good that nobody fall asleep until now. Good. I will continue. Okay, so my professor at the university told me that not to panic because statistics is a big, vast area where there are different things to learn, and we will continuously learning. And I was like, okay. And she said, just keep reading and learn. And I know many statisticians who remain in their comfort zone after getting a good job and they stop learning. They don't set up any milestones, and usually this happens when they could be at their career peak and they just need that extra little effort to get them in a better job, more responsibilities, and obviously a higher salary. And that can be dangerous because we are even now living in a world where we know that there is no such thing as a secure job, and also the domain grows very fast and moves. So I want to make you to think about a statistician in the 80s who would use a little bit of software and lots of paper to do his job. Then that statistician in the 90s, if he would not want to learn Microsoft Excel, it will become redundant. So something similar happens now with R and Python, and I probably will start when I will be in my 50s to learn a totally new software that is not even developed right now. So the point of learning every single year something is to make you feel like you're still relevant. And my colleague before, Rob, mentioned in his talk about continuous learning and how important it is, and Royal Statistical Society puts a big accent on it, and I really believe that's very important. So how you can do this is very simple. Just take, for example, one software or one extra skill or area that you think you should improve, and spend a few hours a day. And set yourself, for example, for a language, for a new software, I will set up between 3 to 5 years to master that language. So then don't push yourself and set up milestones that are not achievable, but just do a little bit every day. So don't remember that brain is like a muscle that needs to be exercised. Now, you might think that as a graduate statistician, or even as a chartered one, or even as a more senior analyst, you know all the information you need at your fingertips to do your role, and you might have. But the truth is that the statisticians should be prepared to do more digging and research if they really want to get most of their data. So every now and then you should have this stop and think moment, as I like to call it. It doesn't have to be like in your working time. It can be in any like downtime. I like to have these stop and think moments when I'm walking, and during lockdown I did a lot of walking. But just think a little bit, what like new trends and methodologies are there? How can you feed and enlarge your knowledge? And remember that there is a trend all the time, and you have to surf it and don't sink. So you have to think a little bit of like what's important for you and where you want to do extra things. Now, this feeds into curiosity. I read many years ago an article about Andy Gaskell in Forbes entitled why you should reignite curiosity at work and how to do it. And he was mentioning that usually people are two types of curiosity. D type, who are curious about the topic because they have a problem that they need to solve it, and I type, who are curious in general, and they are almost like natural curious cats, you know, the expression, the cats have nine lives. So usually I type is associated with that sparks of joy Marie Kondo style, where they are always like hyper about it. I'm told a lot of the times about from clients, the feedback is that I sound very passionate about what I'm doing. And that's, I think it's actually springing from this idea that I'm an I-type curious person that is thirsty of knowing more and more all the time. If you think you're a D-type, it's not because you might not have the joy of working with data. The contrary, it might just mean that the project, the topic you're working on is not telling you too much. Many times, for example, manager will just assign tasks without showing the team members what it is for, and not having the right and full picture in your mind of what you're working at can drive you actually to be a D-type. Now, also, bad news for you if you think you're in the D-type section, because the I-types are usually doing much better in their career. And if you want to actually break the barrier and go towards the I-type, you should ask questions like why. Sometimes you might not have the time in a meeting with your managers and other colleagues, but it's good to ask why. And as a statistician, it's also good to have this curiosity, because you're diving into assumptions that are so important as an initial step to start doing your models, that you can also actually cover lots of issues and problems afterwards of not going into the right path. And also just be creative. Sometimes curiosity brings all sorts of ideas, new ideas, and think how you can implement them in your methods. Having a mentor is a blessing, and I would like to advise you to try to find a mentor who can be like a guide, a support, just a sounding board, your rock. You just go from time to time and you ask, what do you think about this methodology? And It also helps you basically not get very distracted. Nowadays in our world, we have so many touch points of distractions, a lot of conferences, events, new software appearing, new methodologies, everything can be like, it's almost like a switch shop nowadays, because we have this all these touch points that we can reach very easily through internet, and you can get lost into all this sea of new things. So a mentor usually is also good because it helps you not get distracted and make you focus and keep the same path. The Royal Statistical Society has a mentorship program that I went through as well, and I think it is great. If you cannot or you don't have the time, you can always reach out at other people. So, for example, you can reach out in your company to somebody that you respect and you really would be very grateful for that person to spend a little bit of time with you. Or you can reach out at a different platform. I would recommend LinkedIn or ResearchGate. ResearchGate is more for academic people, and then LinkedIn is more for like business-like, but also academic as well. And a mentor will keep you kind of like active in the ideas. It will give you some ideas, but it will not fit spoon you. So you'll have to keep learning and you'll become better. And don't forget, when you're growing a little bit higher, or if you already people here that think you can be a mentor, please, please, please pay back. Be a mentor yourself. And I think the payback for you would be great, because I see it as a great thing to give it back, not only to get, but also to give. Now, we have to look at our team as well as the next level, and I will touch two points here, the team spirit and the networking. Statisticians do work by themselves on many tasks, but the environment is not deserted, and we often work in teams, sometimes being the only experts in the area. Therefore, you must be comfortable working in teams. Once I had a manager who told me that I was hired because of my personality compatibility with the rest of the team. And they gave me a lot of personality tests during the interview stage, and she also gave me the results after I was hired. And I couldn't believe that that mattered in an interview selection, and it didn't matter that 100% my analytical capabilities and abilities to do the work. There wasn't even like that. I covered that completely, but the extra bit, that extra bonus that got me hired was because of my personality. And it doesn't matter if you're a Scorpio or an Aquarius, it is not like a zodiac thing. It matters how you can handle different types of colleagues. And because we are all different, that's great, but we also have to be understanding each other. So the best test that I did, because I did so many in my life, it is called the personality test of Myers-Briggs. There are 16 personalities test. You can find the source here, or you can have the presentation afterwards, or you can just type it on the internet and do the test. It's basically based on gold question segmentation style. You do the test and then you have your result. So my result was that I'm an ENTJ. Now, which this means that I'm an extrovert. I guess you might have already known this. I'm an intuitive and thinking and judging as traits personality person. So this personality type is also known as the commander, which doesn't sound positive so much until I found who are the famous people with this personality. So the first one will be Margaret Thatcher, known also as the Iron Lady. The next one was Steve Jobs, who he was a brilliant person, but he was fired from Apple, the company he created. And the last one is Gordon Ramsay, who is known, apart from being a brilliant 3 Michelin star chef, for using too much the F word. So I wasn't very happy about this personality test. I took it several times. I took it many, many, many times. And if you're taking the test twice and you have two different results, that doesn't mean that the test is wrong. It just means that you're at the borderline between two dimensions, let's say introvert versus extrovert. But in my case, no, this is a very strong result that this is me. And ENTJs are only 2% of the population. Majority of statisticians, by the way, are INTJs, they are introverts. And in terms of analysts, most of them are introverts if they have other personality types. which is okay. So how this helped me and how it can help you if you do this test is that I read the description of the personality and then I understood and I know my problems. For example, I interrupt people, I talk a lot. I think very fast and I'm already saying the decision and the result and so on. So the first thing that I had to do, and I took it as an advice from this personality test, is to count to 10 and to let everybody else try to say something before I'm saying something, because I already made the decision in my mouth. And then another thing is because our personality is very efficient, we always say what's the wrong thing to improve, but we don't do a lot of praising. So we do more criticism than praising the positive and playing down a little bit more the negative part. So I'm trying very much almost like actively, proactively doing it. So try to do the test. You can also assess your colleagues. You don't have to do the test. You can see if he's introvert or extrovert, or if it's a intuitive person or not, etc. So it can be easily kind of like classified each person into these 16 buckets. And then you can also understand how they are working and what works for them so that you can work with them. This is a very important thing. Cool. So now we are talking about networking, another part of the team universe. My mentor said that a network is more valuable than a PhD. And to this day, I think he's very right. So how can you improve your network? I have a very big network. I'm very popular. I meet a lot of people. And then I had like a stop thinking of how did I get to this huge network? First of all, in any company I worked before, I try to not only network with my team, but also with other people. First of all, I will have a friend from IT because I always have some problem with my computer or with my software. If you want to know how the company works and how everything is moving around, befriend a PA or a executive assistant or a secretary. They are very helpful. They know everybody. And then you have to network other people from other teams so that you understand how the company works. Also, when you're working at a certain project, sometimes you can call them and say, hey, I have this problem. I don't know how to solve it. I don't know where to go. And they might direct you. They might not be able to help you, but at least they might direct you. So inside your company, it's good to have a network, definitely. Don't try to work in silos. Try to break those silos and go and talk with people. Doesn't matter their job level. Just go and talk with people. Everybody is here to help. And then now, we could do networking, obviously, through conferences. Royal Statistical Society has an amazing annual conference every year in September. But because now with the COVID and the fact that we're working from home, we will have, obviously, virtual events. And this is quite hard. So what I would recommend you is like attend these virtual events, try to connect with people, or even try to connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hi, I saw this talk that you had, can we have a chat about this subject? Is very interesting for me. So people will definitely come back to you helping or advising, or just have a high chat once in a while. Why networking is important and is great is because you get great ideas. You see what's happening in the world. You see what new trends are happening. You can also get career advice from other people. And not only that, but if they know that you're so passionate and interested in the subject, they can recommend you to other jobs, maybe in their company, maybe they see something else. And you also gain a different perspective than you might see in your world. So I think networking is really, really important. Now, if you move to the next stage of your project, there are three main things that I want to focus. There are many more. One of them is meeting management, then technical writing, and presenting insights. Some time ago, back in 2014, I was invited to a meeting that was planned for 15 minutes. We're having 8 stakeholders, and we were basically 3 different teams. And how many of us didn't go to a meeting of 3-4 hours? Quite, some of them were quite long, and nothing happens, and we don't solve anything, and we are still in the same stage. So when I saw this meeting of this invite for 15 minutes, I thought, well, we will not get anything out of it. We'll just like say, hi, hello, how are you, who it is, blah, blah. And then that's it. And I was gobsmacked by what happened. So the person that organized this meeting gave to everybody several tasks in the sense before the meeting to send in bullet points what they want to discuss, to see what's the important, what to prioritize, etc. During the meeting, he was already writing the meeting minutes and then assigning actions. So what I took from that is that every single meeting that I'm in, be it client or internal meeting, I'm always taking notes. And those notes actually become the meeting minutes. And if I see that in the next 15 minutes after the meeting, nobody sends them, I'm sending them, because it's so important to have this documented and mapped and have it as everybody knows what they're doing, because sometimes they will say, I'm just waiting for the statistician to do their job, but actually in the meeting was discussed that the statistician cannot do the job unless they get the A, B, and C decisions from another team. So that's important. Technical writing, one of my favorite topics that is almost totally missing from the real world, is that you need to translate effectively your work and comment your syntax and make it in such a way that what you're producing can be reproduced or picked up by somebody else. For example, in a team, if you're in a holiday and a client calls about a project that you worked on 6 months ago, your team member will not know unless you have an organized folder that is all obviously respecting some style and some structure that the team can work and navigate in. And then the syntax that you're working in has a lot of comments, and there is documented everything, every single step. Even when I'm doing consulting work and I'm not working with anybody else, I'm the only statistician on the project, I am still doing the comments. Why? Because it helps me, at least at the end, after months and months when the client comes back, to be able to reply or help or pick up something, idea of a hypothesis to work on that. So manuals and documentation and white papers can be useful for everything, either if you're doing a dashboard or a reporting or just like a white paper for a methodology, just do it. And this came from another interaction that I have with Stanley Povetsky. I asked him about Shapley value on ResearchGate, and he was very, very eager to help me. And he just like, I said, I need more information about how you did this Shapley value in this article, and he just gave me a white paper. And I was amazed by how organized he was, and he was having all these like a lot of articles and so on written by him. And I said, how comes you're writing so many articles when you're in the private sector? Usually this is more for public and academic sector. And he said, well, it is useful for me, it is useful for my colleagues, for any other learners that are asking for it. It is useful for the future of research, because he was obviously publishing these articles. And he said also it is useful for prospective clients, because if they ask me about something, I recommend a methodology and they don't understand it, I can just lift that white paper and give it to them. And the last part on the project universe is presenting insight, which is my favorite topic. It's unbelievable how important this is. For example, if I have a presentation, a report that is not made presentable in the sense it has typos, the formatting is not right, I have different types of fonts, I always find more mistakes than in a normal report. And it's because my attention is more dragged to I have a very high attention to detail. So when I see these typos, I'm looking even more into the data. And basically the unconscious way of thinking of it is that you are thinking that if a person didn't spend a little bit of time presenting the data, they did not do a great job in working and building the model that is behind the data. So that's very important, how you present the data and how much time you spend on it. Another thing is that you will have two types of audiences: number savvy ones, to which you splash a table full of numbers on the slide and they will love it and everything is fine for them. They can even interpret the data better themselves. You don't have to do that. And then you have the text lovers audience that you basically shut them down with a big table of data. So what you have to do is you'll always have audiences that are mixed. So you have to put a little bit of numbers and a little bit of interpretation. And the interpretation has to be as basic and simple as possible, but in the same time complex. So I want to give you some examples. I have 3 main idols in statistics. 2 of them, I met them in real lifetime. One is Hannah Fry. She is a doctor in mathematics. She's doing amazing documentaries on BBC. One of them is Joy of Data. One is David Spiegelhalter. I've been to the speech of the president in 2017 at the Royal Statistical Society, and he had this talk about trust in numbers. And I didn't expect too much, but I was really glued to the presentation, and it just blew my mind because he was bringing all this information. And he was like amazing. He also resolved the issue of me liking the burnt toast, I will not die of cancer, how it was basically published in the newspaper. So I was very happy. And the last one that I'm very sorry is no longer with us, it's Hans Rosling. He's very well known for Best Stats You've Ever Seen TEDx talk. So what I do when I try to improve my presentation, I usually been very, very like bland in my presentations, and I try to improve it a lot throughout the years, was that I took a statistician that I like, and I seen how they present the data and how they were doing it and how they use the tone of their voice. And believe it or not, these people are rehearsing and recording their sessions and self-analyzing themselves. And obviously some of them would have a team behind them to do all the graphics and charts and so on, but it can be done. And if you tell me, yeah, but I have a presentation in my company and I just have 1 day to do it, if you push a little bit yourself for the first few presentations, you will start learning how to do them in a faster pace, and then you will like understand how to present them. And just it's about exercise at the beginning, and then it's almost like a second nature. A few books, obviously, I always recommend some books on presenting data. One is Presenting Data by Ed Hennessy, and 2 infographics guides that are really, really huge. They're about 5 kilograms each. Food and Drinks Infographics and Understanding the World from Taschen. The idea is that when you're presenting, you have to see what other people are doing. I don't think you can be so creative. Statisticians are not artists, so you can't be super creative. So you need to put something in your brain in order to produce something interesting. Going through some charts sometimes and infographics, I see like some charts that are so badly presented, and I see all these like problems with scaling and so on, which is fine, but in the same time, I have to not focus on that and take something good from it, like images that they are using, or a color palette, or anything that is useful. And sometimes I just like to go through these guides and look at them, and I see some inspiration that I'm using afterwards, and I'm creating my own, but it's very good to have some touch points of inspiring your ideas. Now, if you go to the 4th universe, make it happen, we will look at decision-making, problem-solving, strategic thinking, and conflict resolution. So decision-making. For statisticians, there are a few formalized decision-making techniques, such as a decision matrix that can be helping you to take the best decision. But what is the most important thing is oozing confidence and being and looking like a firm decision maker. If I remember one time I had a client and I was trying to solve one issue that happened, not because of me, obviously, but a thing that happened, and I was trying to find the logic. In the same time, I was thinking how to solve it. I was thinking at the algorithm, etc. And she asked me, "Can you do it?" And my answer was like, I think I can. So that basically was not oozing of confidence, wasn't a firm confirmation of that I can do it. And then she said, well, she even said like this, if you don't know how to do it, it's fine. And I was like, well, no, I just have to think of how to do it. I have an idea, but until I implement it and I see if it's working, I can't confirm. But I know how to do it, sorry. So it was just that thing of the tone of the voice, how you say it, how you deliver the message is important. And because usually clients don't understand statistics, you have to make them to trust you, and they will not trust you if you have this like unsure tone of voice or replies. And it's no problem of if you can't make a decision. There's no problem if you go back and ask for the scope and requirement of the project or the request, just to make sure the decision that you're making is the correct one. So there's no, I've seen even people in their 40s and 50s, late in their careers, still not having that gut of going to the client and asking them, so just to double check, do you want this or that? For me, I always do that, even when the client confirms it once, just to make sure that we map it and reiterate it again. Problem solving. So many times, even from my first job in 2008, I had people that said to me, we need to do this, but I do not know how to do it because we do not have a methodology for it. And I remember back in the days, I had to do a report that was never done before. The client just asked it. And it was, again, I was like thinking it through how to do it. And the first thing that you have to do is not panic, because then you block your thinking. So that's not a problem. We don't have a formalized solving. That's okay. We take a little bit of time. We can even say, look, I need a little bit of time to look into this. And then you think mathematically, logically, and do a brainstorm to find a solution. You also have to explain it to the client. So when you're solving a thing that is not really standardized, I would advise you, not necessarily to the client, but maybe to your team, because they will have this included feeling in the project, and they will think like your team, for example, if you tell them how to do something new, they will go back home with like a happy feeling of, oh, I learned today something, even though it wasn't their solution. At least you feel them included, and that's how you grow basically the trust in the team, and they will share with you something else. Strategic thinking is something that each statistician should have, because we are involved into the project from the beginning to the end. And many times this happens to me. I have like initial proposal kickoffs, and people just like brainstorm and do all these things, and they say, ah, let's do this and let's do that. And I always say, no, stop, this is not going to work at stage 7. And they're already lost, because some of them don't understand what stage 7 means, or what is stage 7, or how to do this project head to tail, which is fine. That's why we are here. That's why we are employed. Imagine, for example, that the client wants to do a survey, and as we are not responsible only for the structure of the sample from the beginning, but also by running reports and the results at the end. Therefore, the strategic thinking is important, because whatever you decide at the beginning of a project, it will have an impact at the end of it. You also need to explain it and support the stakeholders understanding why you think this strategy is working or not working. It's just like explain them in basic stuff, in basic words, like if we do the variable, like the question like this, it comes as a variable in a certain style that is not going to fit into the model that we are trying to work with. So just do it a little bit. You don't have to go too much in details, but this helicopter view that any statistician should have is important. And that can be also harnessed if you don't have it. It's fine. Some people have it naturally, this strategic view, but visionary view. But in time, even a graduate statistician will harness that, because you go through a project once, 2 times, 3 times, you understand different procedures, why you can put things different in certain areas. Conflict resolution is a skill that hopefully you will not need it too often, but it always depends on the team, on the project, and sometimes on the end client. The example is a very complex project that has lots of conflicts at different team levels, and the statistician's work actually will be to diffuse this conflict and finding a resolution. And sometimes you have to find a compromise and a trade-off, and to have in your head the common goal is to get this project to the end. And it will be hard to make everybody happy, but in the same time, you have to bring everybody into the room and explain them why some things have to be done in a certain way. So for extra powers, who voted what? I can't see. Nobody voted anything? Do people still hear me?
I can't see any votes there.
Oh dear. Okay, I will just choose then. If nobody voted anything, okay, I'll just choose.
Person said active listening. Oh,
Active listening.
Okay, no, we're getting some votes in now, actually.
Okay, let's see. Negotiation, active listening. Maybe the first two will have priority, depending. Okay, active listening is important. Has 2 votes. Okay, let's do active listening. Okay, 3 votes. Okay, that's great. Let's do active listening. Where was I? Here. Oops. Okay. Let's do active listening first. Cool. So active listening is important. I know a lot of statisticians who will go in a big meeting room with a lot of decision makers, etc., and they will all talk about what they want in their project. And the statistician will just stay in the corner and take notes and be all quiet and be happy and so on, which is fine. But that's a passive listening. To be active is to sometimes it's just like eye contact, to nod at them, to say, yes, I understand indeed, to reiterate a little bit what they said, but maybe sometimes in like different wording so that you're making sure that they are thinking it through and they are saying it what they want to say. And it's important to follow up a little bit with like short questions and listen to their concerns and needs as well, because this is important. Many times I'm in meetings and the clients say something around they're worried about something, and then they carry on continuing and so on. And when they say, so what do you think? You can actually start with those little things and concerns that they have. And it's important to make and reassure them. Again, it's around that trust in the statistician, to reassure them that everything is covered, everything is fine. And be again open. If you think that they are asking you something and they have concerns and needs about it that you don't know how to deliver, I never promise. So because I never promise something that I don't know if I can do it 100%, clients tell me that I'm overachieving and over delivering, which is not bad. But try, because sometimes it's like, so you said you can do this, but you cannot. Make sure that you can deliver it. And it's just that almost like an empathy thing of looking at them, seeing how they're thinking about different areas and try to pick those areas and talk with them. So the next one is negotiation. Yes, one of my favorite as well. So we'll go back. Negotiation. Negotiation is almost like an art. And many times is like a trade-off and almost like a negotiation in a market. Everybody wants something. You're limited by the time, by budget, by resources in your team. It can be a negotiation internally or externally with clients. But I learned that most of the times when you're trying to negotiate something, 20 or 30% of the times, or the weight in negotiation is the logic of it, and the rest of it is about attitude, how you say it, how you approach it, what's your tone of voice, how you respond to all this, like some companies have like a company hierarchy, and if you respect it and so on. I would recommend you to watch this video clip that is the link there. It's on mastering the negotiation by an FBI hostage negotiator called Chris Voss, who is very famous in negotiating with big criminals and psychopaths in the world. But he's giving actually very good tips of what words to use, what your tone of voice should be. He's also doing this negotiation of 1 minute only, because some people get quite exhausted and they have this like nervous attitude when you're trying to negotiate over and over and over again, and they already made their mind. So if you can shorten your negotiation to 1 minute or 2 minutes and focus on the solutions and prioritize the issues as well when you're negotiating. So yes, the logic there should be, but you also have to think of the solutions and how to prioritize it. And it's almost like balancing all these things with limited resources and finding solutions and the type of person that you have to negotiate with. Okay, so that was it. Oops, I think I took more than 30 minutes every time this is happening to me. So now we will have a session of more Q&As if you have Q&As. Just a trivia, this presentation was gender equal, so you have seen the same amount of women and men throughout the presentation. And if you want to contact me, these are my details. So let's see what questions we have, if we have any questions.
Thank you, Aura. So yes, I would like to invite anybody to ask any questions. You can either type them in the comments box or raise your hand on Teams. Aura, I did actually have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke about the differences in personality types in terms of whether you're extrovert or introverted. And, you know, you're clearly an extrovert person. You're very good at presenting and putting your points across. I just wondered if you have any advice for those people who perhaps don't have those attributes, and for people who are kind of fearing, you know, maybe they might have to go and do a presentation, or they feel nervous about speaking with people. How do they get from that point of not knowing how to do it to being able to present and communicate effectively?
Sure. So I would advise you to do just a mock-up presentation and exercise and practice. Do a presentation of just 10 slides and try to put something that you're passionate and you like in statistics, just like a general thing. And then try to do, even if, for example, you have a presentation that you have to do here on Teams, try to ask a friend if he can spend 30 minutes with you to show the presentation to him or her and to explain how what was the purpose and to show it and so on, and then to give you feedback. And usually friends are the best, because they will, even if they don't know statistics, they will understand that you have to have some skills of presentation, and they will be able to give you some feedback. And because you basically, people that are super introvert, they not even have like the guts to present it to their friends. So for them, that's the little step they have to do. And then if you do a little bit of extra steps, presenting it to one of your colleagues at work or to the wider team, and then to the bigger company, I think that's because of they are practicing and they get outside their comfort zone and they're doing this. Introvert people are super smart. Actually, there are books saying that they're smarter than extroverts because they're talking all the time, extroverts, and introverts are having more time to think. So it would be a shame for them not to take this extra step to go a little bit out of their comfort zones and do that.
Okay, and we have a question in now from Stephen Smith. So kind of similarly on the subject of communication, are there any tips on dealing with difficult customers?
Yes. Depending on what stage you're with the customer, because if it's a difficult customer that you don't know, and nowadays I see that lots of communication is via email, maybe you should set up a 15 minutes meeting with them on Teams to know them, to ask them how they are, to have that like a little bit of personal connection. And then say that, well, let's say I receive an email from you, I see you haven't been happy about this, can you explain to me more so that I can help you? So it's all about making sure that they feel the empathy for their problem, and then try to find it, and that you're looking for a solution for them. If you don't have a solution for them, try again to say, I do understand your concerns and your problems, but unfortunately we do not have a solution for you. And then I see another question is, when networking, how do you usually start the conversation? Oh, this is a good one. So in networking and in conferences, you'll see lots of like little groups, maybe people that are just gaming with each other, right? They with their friends, they are just like little small clusters. And you can start a conversation if it's let's say after a conference or after a talk. You can go to somebody and say, how what did you think about what the person talked about one thing? How do you think could have been done in other way, or so you can touch basically the subject of that conversation, and then you can introduce yourself and say, well, I'm Aura, I'm a statistician, blah blah. So you can do a little bit of chat. It's quite hard again to do this. I remember one time to a big conference organized by Ipsos. I was invited, so I went there, and I just literally entering the door, and one of the vice presidents of the company where I was working on she came as well, and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so happy you're here." And I was like, okay. And she said, "I don't know anybody." This was her problem. She said, "I don't know anybody." I was like, "Well, there's no problem. We can go and talk with people and so on." So there are people that even at a very later stage in life, they find it very difficult to go and communicate in to do networking. And again, if it's a virtual networking, because nowadays we do a lot of things virtually, you have to go and send them a private message, like on LinkedIn. You can send them a message and say, I saw that you're working on X company and I have this idea, or whatever. You can start on any topic that you have. You can start a conversation with the person. Obviously, conversations usually have like a common thing that people can talk about it. Or you can just ask for a recommendation if they don't know about the topic, which is fine. Okay.
Okay, and we just had another question coming in now from Nora. And Nora's asking, what is the best way to strike a balance between communicating technical insights to non-technical stakeholders?
Okay, so this is another issue, because you could have in a huge room a lot of technical people and non-technical people, and the goal of your way of showing your results is to cover and to make everybody in the room happy. So you have to take basically the people with the lowest apprehension of technical skills and to do your presentation at that level. In case any technical person, more advanced technical person that will want to have more information about it, you can also always say, if you want me to dig deeper into this, or you have extra questions, you can ask me and we can have it there. I've seen presentations where people made it very plain and simple, and then in the annex of the presentation they had like very serious, more technical parts. So it can be like that.
Okay, so I guess it comes back to, when you're trying to get the point across and you have to get to the crux of the point and to say exactly what it is that you're trying to convey. Do we have any other questions from the audience here?
Nope.
I think you've covered a lot, so perhaps that's why. Okay, so I am going to leave it there then, but Aura, actually, we do have one. So Stephen Smith says, what ways do you use to find new customers? You got in just in time, Stephen.
Yeah. So there are different, obviously there are two ways. One is passive, one is active. Passive is like when, thank you, Stephen. Passive is like when people are coming to you because they know you and you have been recommended by other people that work with you, which happens to me most of the time. Active, when you're trying to go into people's offices or you email them directly and you're trying to get that type of customer. Now, I found that the easiest way to convince people and to get them as your customer is sending them interesting topic or subject that you worked on, like to show off what you can work and what you can do for them. And I think that works most of the time. So if you can do that and you have anything, any proposal, or obviously not with client data, with that has non-disclosure agreement, but if you have any kind of, even if you do it spurious, or you take data from the government that you're allowed to use and you do your own proposal, that's great, because people don't know so much about statistics, but you can show them what you can do and how you can present it and what insights they can get into their hand is very interesting.
Okay, and another question now from Violetta. So how do you balance life between work, learning new things, and the time when you're not working? So I was actually interested in that myself as well. So I know that you talked about a lot of things in terms of having to keep making sure that you're learning. How do you do that while you're actually doing the job as well?
Yes, so you can have, for example, some time. For example, when you write your objectives at work, what you want to do in the next 6 months, how you can reach your objectives, how you can help the company, etc. If you can find one of the business problems that you have in your company, and you can say to your manager, I can do this by learning this new skill, then you can convince your manager to actually give you maybe half a day every 2 weeks to study for that. And you can do it throughout your work time. And then you can block that time in your calendar, and that's what you're doing. You're not procrastinating, because also the company wants to see results out of it. Now, if you can't do that at work because of different reasons, again, I don't think somebody cannot spend 1 or 2 hours a week doing something to help their career. And sometimes, in my case, for example, I had a company where the manager couldn't let me do what I wanted to learn. And I just did it in the evenings. It wasn't very easy. Sometimes I was like missing seeing friends or something, but it's a little bit, again, of a trade-off between your work and your life. But if you're passionate about statistics, sometimes even if you're reading something in the evening, it's not choir is like something that you like to do. For example, I'm reading Significance magazine from the Royal Statistical Society. Every time it appears for me, that day is like reading time, because I'm so eager to see what other statisticians are writing there. So and that can be actually considered as a personal development time, no?
Okay, that's really interesting, and I was actually going to ask you as well about the linking back to RSS. Is there anything that the members can use in their membership to up their soft skills? Anything that you would recommend?
I've been to a training course provided by Roland Kalkult. It was called Consulting Skills, and I think it was one of the best training that I've been to in my life. Actually, he's doing he did 2 days of training in which we got tasks, and we had to deal with very difficult clients, very difficult. He can play very well the role. From my perspective is that anybody in the Royal Statistical Society that is receiving an email and they are having like a question or something, they are very eager to help, and they're very open. And I think that it's just about doing it rather than thinking, will they reply to me? Just do it and they will reply. I send sometimes emails Friday at 9 p.m. thinking of something, and I got a reply at 10 p.m. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, you read your emails. You shouldn't have done that. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's fascinating. Thank you so much, Aura. I think we're going to have to wrap it up there. So thank you to everybody who asked a question. And of course, my thanks to Aura for such an excellent presentation. And I hope that people can join us for other events in Members Week as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.